Hello everyone, this is International Master Andrew Martin here, and welcome to the British Chess Magazine Game of the Month for February 2012. I'll be trying to broadcast this game a little more widely across the net so that the British Chess Magazine channel can become more widely known. And I've chosen a very interesting game from the Hastings Masters tournament played in 2012 between the up-and-coming young player from the UK, Samuel Franklin, and Grandmaster Simon Williams, playing with the black pieces. Very sharp and interesting struggle coming up. Now the opening is of interest right away because Williams plays a rather unusual variation of the Sicilian defence, where he delays the entry of the knight on g8 into the game. We can see already this position has characteristics of the Najdorf or Scandinavian variation, but black has not yet moved that knight. And this makes a bit of a difference in the position because it makes ideas with g4 a lot less attractive to white. One of the main ideas of playing g4 in the first place is not only to get a kingside attack, but to push the knight on f6 out of the way and to gain time as a result. So Williams has been experimenting with this unusual system. It's kind of a hybrid of quite a few Sicilian systems. The Can, the flexible Paulson variation, the Najdorf, Scandinavian. It's a fusion of all these systems, but it's not quite one or another. Now I remember Kasparov played an idea like this in an old World Championship match against Karpov, but Karpov went g4 anyway, and it may well be to challenge this system white just has to bite the bullet and go g4, and then black will look for ways to get that knight on g8 into the game to a different location. But for the time being, Franklin just develops normally with bishop b3. He more or less ignores what black is doing. Now just to go back a couple of moves, just to take you back to this position, I suppose if white wants to change the nature of the position and to exploit black's move order, then he's probably got to consider the move c4. But not many players who play 1e4 are generally comfortable with these Maroczy bind positions, or at least they're more comfortable with the open piece play characteristic of the Sicilian. So this might be the acid test of black's move order, but in practice most players go knight c3, a6, bishop e3, and now b5. So black is still delaying the entry of the knight into the game. White went queen d2. Well, there have been quite a few recent games with this continuation, with no clear conclusions. I mean, there's no firm indication yet about the best move order for white. For instance, bishop d3 has been played. That was played in the game Gallagher-Smearin 2011, and black just went knight f6 there, f4, bishop b7, and we reach a relatively normal position. Just going back to the position after b5, a4 has also been played. That was played in the game Goldstein versus Fedorchuk in Paris 2011. And just to show you the potential of this system, let's play on a little bit. b4, knight a2, bishop b7. White went bishop d3, protecting his pawn. And now the knight comes into the game with gain of time. White went f3, black played knight bd7. And once again, knight takes b4 is kind of a little bit risky because of moves like d5. So queen e2 was played and then black went d5 with very interesting counterplay. Going back to the position after b5 one more time, white has also played g4, the very move black is trying to prevent. This was played in the game Perunovic versus Nestorovic 2011. Bishop b7, bishop g2, knight f6. Black played it anyway, and now the position resembles a Kerry's attack after g5, knight fd7. So black played knight f6 there anyway. I wonder, just going back to bishop g2, whether he has any more profitable way of delaying bringing that knight out. I mean, maybe he could certainly consider a move like knight d7 in this position. And then the game continues. So, if nothing else, I'm sure this continuation will gain time on the clock as white struggles to find the best continuation in what is a rather unusual position. So white contents himself with just getting the pieces out in this game, and now black plays knight f6, satisfied that he's persuaded white to go in for a less direct attacking formation than the ones involving g4. And now we go back into a line of the English attack, or burn variation against the Najdorf. where bishop b7 is played, and now white goes g4. The Byrne variation was invented by Grandmaster Robert Byrne back in the 1970s as a way of attacking against the Najdorf variation. It has changed names over that time to the English attack, thanks to its use by a whole bunch of English grandmasters during the 1980s. Short, Nunn, Chandler, to name but three off the top of my head, and they refined and perfected this system. Basically, it's a very direct attacking system. White delays the entry of this bishop on f1 into the game for as long as it takes for him to build up kingside pressure, or to at least see how black is laying out his pieces, and moves forward on the kingside with high speed. Black must be extremely accurate against this, and Williams plays knight b6, eyeing the c4 square. Black's plan in this position will be something like rook c8 and then knight c4 if he can get it in. So white tries to interrupt that plan with queen f2, and as we can see, that move already threatens knight takes e6, which attacks the knight on b6. So black protects with knight fd7. So black is conducting a kind of scorched earth policy there, getting out of the way of the advancing kingside pawns. White can see nothing better than bishop d3, and black played rook c8, whereupon white went knight ce2. Now there is an awful lot of theory in this position. Let's assume we don't know any theory for the time being. Well, black's next couple of moves make sense. He just completes his development. Of course, castling, he's castling straight into white's attack. But you can't play the Sicilian half-heartedly. You know, if you play the Sicilian defence, you've got to realise it's an uncompromising winning weapon. So black's got to take this type of risk and just accept that white's going to get kingside attacking chances. Black's got to counter on the queen side. So that's why Williams increased his attacking power by playing knight a4. Now there is an interesting alternative in this position with the central counter d5. Obviously that's the move black would like to play if he could, and it seems well timed at this particular moment. Things to note: opening up the game is a little bit risky for black whilst his queen is on the toe end of the d file opposite the white rook. That's the first thing to notice about this position. And the second thing is that white can go for broke here with g6. You know, that's the type of thing they do in the English attack. A clear pawn sacrifice to gain time and to get things going on the king side. And it's just a question of whether black can defend against this. I think he can. Possibly knight c4 is a good move. Now white doesn't really want the dark square bishop to go missing here, because a lot of time in this system he checkmates on g7 and you need your dark square bishop at that point. So it's probably best to take. We take with the rook, h5 obviously, and now black's got to play really accurately to avoid being destroyed. So g5 is a good move, b3, rook c8, f4. You can't waste any time when players have castled on opposite sides. You know, speed is of the essence. So black takes this. We take, rook hg1. Now, just a question of whether black can survive such a position. Again, I think he can, with careful defence, and king h8 would be a good way to defend this position. And now how is white to break through? You know, black has a good relieving manoeuvre here. He can play his queen up to e5 via either f6 or c7. This would be a good idea. And white struggles to break through here. For instance, something like this. If he goes h6, we go g6. Well, I think black's a pawn up in this position. I don't see any way through for white. This would be a typical representative white attack in this position, with nothing clear on view. So perhaps black could have gone d5. Instead he chose knight a4. And white went h4. Black played knight dc5. I suppose d5 was a move again. And now white played bishop to c1. Now amazingly, this had all been played before in an old Polgar-Kasparov game from Linares in 2001, I think. And there, Polgar played knight g3. Just dropping back, queen g3 has also been played, and bishop c1 is not a novelty either. The first new move of this game comes now, as Williams played b4. But it's not the type of novelty that, you know, you can consider as being earth-shattering or anything original. Black's just pressing ahead on the queen side. Instead, queen b6 was played in a game from New Delhi in 2009 between Lama and Deepan Chakravarti, whose grade's 2506. There, normal play ensued after queen g2 takes. Black played queen c7. with a reasonable position. You know, white just pressed ahead in typical fashion with this pawn sack, and things became very unclear. And it seems to me that, you know, when you play the Sicilian defence these days, the game doesn't start until now. And even then, the themes are well mapped out. In this case, both sides have got a balanced outright attack with an occasional necessary defensive move. So, white went, in this game, knight g3. Black took off the bishop. C takes d3. And now d5. Obviously, after knight takes d3, black would have had to have calculated what would happen after rook takes d3. Well, there he can play either a5 or rook e8, as suggested by my strong engine friend. And the point is that after g6 takes h5, we're going e5. Very unclear. Takes, takes, takes. Who's to say what might happen here after knight f5? Going back, Franklin decided to take with a pawn. d5, opening things up. e5, closing things down. White doesn't want the centre opening up when he gets his kingside attack going. And Williams played queen b6 and concentrated fire on the knight at d4. Rook c1. Well, you know, white can easily come under serious pressure here. If he plays a move like knight ge2, knight c3 is already starting to look very strong. Takes, takes. And black certainly has pressure. Franklin didn't like that and played rook c1. And black now pressed ahead with his own pawn sacrifice, b3. Well, temporary pawn sacrifice, because after takes, Williams took, and now took on b3. And white went queen d2. What I like about Franklin's approach in this game is that he's not afraid of his grandmaster opponent. He plays boldly and actually with a win. This position is totally unclear. Opposite colour bishop positions tend to favour the attacker. So both sides are trying to manoeuvre their pieces into the most dangerous attacking positions possible. And this explains rook c7. Williams went a5, h5 was played, and now bishop a6. g6, well, that had to be played, and in a position like this, don't touch the king side. Try to press forward yourself. So rook b4 not only attacks the bishop, it makes room for rook b8. If that move can ever be played, as now Franklin continued with the photogenic move h6. What you don't want to do in a position like this is to play a move like takes on h7, when king h8 just blocks the attack. So h6 tries to open up lines, and should be very good, as after f takes g6, I've no doubt at all that white was in time trouble here. Tragically for him, he misses a win. He plays h takes g7, which looks good, but I think rook takes g7 check was just a killer here. With the point that if king h8, we go rook c1. Obviously rook c7 is on the cards. Black's got to find a way of stopping that. If he goes bishop c4, we go takes, 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 rook fb8, rook c2. And I think, after rook d7, black is winning this position. Going back to rook c1, black can obviously try rook fb8. Then it's clearer. We've got this nice mating combination here. Check, rook c7 check, knight takes g6 check, and then a lovely move here, h7 mate. So that's, I think, a clear case of time trouble spoiling the party here. Franklin played h takes g7, rook takes f4, rook takes h7, very plausible, but Williams hit him on the rebound with queen takes d3 check. And after king a1, queen f1 check, king a2, bishop c4 check, black was now winning. Knight c3 check, very nice, bishop takes c3, and then this beautiful move, rook a4 check, queen a1 check, and then rook c2 check, finish it, rook a2 check, finishing the job. So a typical uncompromising Sicilian defence there, which gave credit to both players. You know, that was really interesting stuff all the way through. It just goes to show that one move can make a big difference in such positions. You know, Franklin had one opportunity to take the win. In time trouble, he failed to find it, and then Williams crashed home with a tremendous attack. So I hope you enjoyed that entertaining game, and I look forward to next month's game even now.